Robert Orr from Canaccord. I'm just slightly moving away from some of the topics. I'm just intrigued by some of the movements which are affecting the German market, like BNP Paribas buying the III funds platform, property investment platform, Teachers and Henderson coming together. I think, Sascha, you've got a new minority investor in your business, which is a Swiss institution, Intershop, which has hit the press. We've seen a big French institution, La Française, buying into Forum Partners. Yeah. I just wondered, from the panel, whether what you read into this. It's not the sort of thing we've seen a lot of in the past. I'd just be intrigued to hear. I sort of wonder out loud what's going to become of IVG, which obviously has a huge fund business as well as part of it, currently in protective administration. So I'd just be interested to get the panel's views on how they see what's happening there.
Yes, I think it's been an interesting sort of phase of transactions, and you've cited a couple that are on the face of them not actually obvious as to what the rationale is, and so without wishing to particularly sort of comment on sort of some of my peers' activities, things like the Teachers Henderson transaction, it does raise questions around is it a principal business, is it a fund management business, and how do those two cohabit? La Française and Forum Partners is a combination of two quite different businesses. And I admit I don't really fully understand how, when you look at what the potential drivers of those deals could be, how they come to actually happen in a way. I mean, you could look at a business like Henderson's, which is not terribly different to ours, and one of the eternal sort of issues that we as third-party managers grapple with is how do we move our business forward in a world where co-invest is a big word, and where a lot of the capital flows that are occurring in the market today are around joint ventures, co-investment partnerships with larger sovereigns. That doesn't naturally fit the third-party manager structure. So you can see the logic there, saying, well, you've got a very big investor teaming up with a manager, that might help. But it raises other questions around, well, where do deals go when they're coming into the organization, and how does that balance work? And I think those are challenges that are not to be underestimated. So I think that there's been a lot of talk about whether AIFMD leads to all sorts of changes. I don't really think that will fundamentally. I think what's going to change the landscape further of the sort of fund management model is around the need for capital and the speed, frankly, at which the traditional real estate closed-ended fund model comes back. Because that's the bit that remains broken. For all that we remain optimistic, and you know what, 2014 is the year when funds are going to come back, of course. But up until now, separate accounts have driven investment volumes for managers. Debt has driven investment volumes, to an extent opportunistic. But the old style sort of closed-ended fund has been very, very slow. And that's the balance I think we're dealing with here. Some managers that don't have a diversified model may find it difficult to continue with some of those challenges, and may have to think of more structured ways of approaching that. I'm not saying those are the drivers in those cases, but that's perhaps what's going on. And then the question, I think, in everyone's mind is, to what extent are things about to change, and are investors going to come back to closed-ended funds? And were that to be the case, that may sort of stop or slow down some of that activity, because otherwise, to come back to your question, it's not always immediately obvious what the rationale is, in my view. But I'm sure they had good reasons.
Nils, did you want to have a view on that?
I mean, I fully agree. I don't really know why they're doing it, so I certainly follow on that one. But I mean, I think there's a lot of moving parts in the market at the moment, and that certainly does create opportunities and needs for reorientation, and I think that's probably the biggest driver I can see there. But other than that, I agree on those. Yeah.
My sort of overriding sense is it's large institutions looking for more control on their access points to investing in different markets. With one of the French, La Française is backed by Crédit Mutuel. And they needed to internationalize, and they've obviously decided that's the way they're going to start doing it. BNP Paribas have got a pretty good retail distribution network in France, and they want to get more heavily invested into Germany, and they've decided that's the way they're going to do it. So I suspect that's quite a big driver behind that, as well as just consolidation. I mean, just trying to get larger assets under management and having greater economies of scale.
Two specific things about Corestate. One is the Intershop transaction, and secondly, I would say a sentence to IVG, what happened there. Well, Intershop is clearly, they up to now worked in a very, very closed market in Switzerland with very, very high pricing, very low supply, very low returns, and they want to diversify into Europe, but on the basis that they buy into existing platforms, and that's their way how they want to try to gain from opportunistic returns that Corestate is dealing for, and that's the reason why they bought into Corestate. And IVG, I don't know what is happening with them in the future. I only can say that Corestate hired the investment team of IVG with Steffen Ricken and Oliver Zimper. They did these deals that we had on the screen before, and our view on things is that they hopefully move on to be successful as in the past. now for Corestate. Yeah.